Hi, I'm Lori. This is GLP One Journey in Review. Today, I'm doing a video in my interview series where we talk to people about their weight loss journey. I personally have been on compounded Tirzepatide for a little over 2 years. I've been in maintenance for 1 year. I have lost about 70 pounds. I want to remind everybody that I am not a healthcare provider. My guest is not a healthcare provider. We're just talking about what works for us. All that being said, Michele, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Laurie. As you mentioned, my name is Michele. I've been on my journey since 12/27, so 1 year just this past week. I live in Tampa, where it's usually warm, except it's really cold today, um, and I'm freezing. Um, and I've been someone who's been heavy all my life,
Mhm.
just thought that's the way it's going to be, even though I tried many, many things. And I was very slow to start with a GLP-1, but it's been a fantastic year, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with everyone.
Which medication are you on?
I'm on ZepBound. I was very fortunate that my insurance has covered it, so I paid $35 a month for ZepBound. So I'm on the pen and been on that one the whole time.
Awesome. And I'm sorry again, how much did you lose?
I don't think I told you. 124 pounds
Uh-huh.
as of today. So when I started, I was 200. Well, my highest weight was 267. But when I started the
Uh-huh.
Zepbound, I was 262, that 1 week in between until you get the meds. Um, and now I'm down to, oh goodness, 138, 137.
Ah, that's great.
So I'm 5'2", so I'm shorter
Uh-huh.
too. So
You're my height.
are
So
you
what was your aha? I'm 5'2", yes. What
Yeah.
was your aha moment that made you decide to go on a GLP-1 medication?
So there were three. You know how things happen for a reason, right?
Yes.
So I was one of these people who I was not necessarily like, I never considered myself ever taking one. I'm 58 years old. So when people were taking medicine, it was the fen-phen, and so much happened with that.
Hmm.
There was also, I knew a few people on it, and their mood swings were awful. So I never said to myself I would ever do that. I then met so at work, let me think which order it happened. At work, the summer before I started, one of our higher level leadership was coming down. I've been at my job for 11 years, so I've known this person
Hmm.
this whole time. And I went to go see her, because she came down to Tampa. And I'm like, where is she? And I'm looking for her. I can't find her. I said, hey, where is so and so? Someone said, she's right over there. And the person's back was to me. When she turned around, I didn't recognize her. She had lost all this weight. And this is somebody who I very much respected. I'm in a science-based industry. She does research. She doesn't do fads. So I said to her, oh my goodness, you look wonderful. How did you do it? And she told me she used a shot. And I think it was Manjaro at the time. This is going back. Um, and I say I think because I knew nothing about GLPs. So no matter what she would have said, unless it was Ozempic, I wouldn't have known it. So I was, wow, this may be something, I might want to look at. The next month was my mom's 85th birthday, and the whole family was going on a cruise. And it was a miserable cruise for me. I was really big. Um, I don't know truly how much I was. I say my highest weight, but when you're that big, you don't weigh yourself, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I couldn't fit in the seats. I used these pictures as my before pictures because I was just so big. And I was miserable and I didn't enjoy it. It was nice seeing family. It was nice celebrating my mom's birthday, but I was miserable. So that was number two. And then in November, the last and final thing was I was having issues with my throat. It felt like I was choking for a while. I had gone to the doctor. He wanted to do an endoscope, and it was time for my colonoscopy. And it was only like if I swallowed water, I would choke on it, and it felt like a tightness. So I went in for the endoscope. They go to put me under. It's at, these ambulatory
Mhm.
services that do it. And I get woken up in the middle. And the doctor's like, I need you to talk, Michele. I need you to say something. I'm like, why am I still in here? He's like, we went to give you the anesthesia, and as we gave it to you, your air dropped, your oxygen dropped, and we want to stop the procedure and continue this at another time in a hospital. I'm like, oh, okay. So that scared me. So in December, I was going to a new doctor because my doctor had changed
Mhm.
specialties. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? I'll ask him. If I get embarrassed or whatever, I might never see him again. So I go
Mhm.
into the new doctor in December, and he does a new patient orientation. Of course, like no doctor has ever mentioned my weight to me, which is surprising, but it's in the notes, but they never actually talk about it. He hadn't mentioned it either. But at the end, he did do something, which this gave me the courage. He said, so what didn't I ask you that you thought I would or you wish I would? So I said, okay, what about weight loss and the medications? Because I hadn't done my research on any of it at
Mhm.
that. And he sort of laughed, and I was like, oh my God, now I am, to myself. And for whatever reason, I looked at him, I said, why are you laughing? He said, you and every other patient who comes in here. I'm like, oh, okay. So that wasn't, I would have assumed it was me, and he's laughing at me.
Mhm.
So he's told me a little bit about it. I don't truly remember what he told me. And then he gave me a script for Wegovy. So I went to fill it. That was about the time of the shortages. This was 2024. And that gave me time to look things up. And as I looked things up, um, what's it called? I heard about, sorry, that's my dog. I heard about ZepBound. So I called him up and I asked him about ZepBound. And he told me that he would write that for that, but it would depend if they approve it or not. So as I was waiting for the approval, I called the insurance company. I'm like, hey, are you guys going to approve this? And the girl was so nice. She's like, give me an hour. So within an hour, it was approved. Took about a week to get, much quicker than the
Mhm.
Wegovy. The Wegovy was actually going to take longer. And I got it. And so those three things, along with my doctor asking that question, I'm like, what the heck? And I was definitely nervous to take it, Laurie.
Mhm.
Especially back then, there was not much on the internet in 2024. What was on the internet was all terrible things. You're going to have this side effect and that side effect and blah, blah, blah. I was determined to take it. I decided I was taking it on a Friday,
Mhm.
just because I had the weekend off. And I live alone. So as I took it, and as I took it, I said, oh God, hopefully I'll be here in the morning. I mean, I was that nervous about it. Um, but I will tell you, I'm one of those people. I took it at night. I went to sleep and I could feel different in the morning. Within 12 hours, that
Mhm.
tightness that I had had almost a year was gone. It must have been inflammation, is my guess. It was totally gone, has never returned, none of that choking, and it's been really great for me ever since.
First, I want to go with, so you got the medication. Had you ever given yourself a shot before?
No, I had never given
I,
myself.
I was scared to death.
I was scared of giving myself the shot. I had to give my mom shots for B12. Those were
Mhm.
syringes. This was an auto pen. So I knew nothing. I may have looked on the internet, like, how do you do this? I don't recall. I must have.
Dr. Google.
Dr. Google, best friend, right? And at that point, I didn't watch YouTube. It's amazing how in a year I basically watch YouTube and not TV anymore. So how much that has changed. But yeah, Dr. Google told me how. Um, it didn't hurt at all. I was
Mhm,
scared. It didn't hurt at all. I joined different GLP Facebook groups, which again back
mhm.
then they were pretty scary. Unfortunately, there's a lot of groups where people like to write the worst things and troll it a little, and so I'm like, I'm not looking at these anymore. and
Uh,
but
I always advise people on the Facebook groups, even today, if it's from an anonymous person, take it for what it is. It's not necessarily true. It's sometimes they just post just to get people going.
They do, and I don't I think they were anonymous, but it doesn't mean they were who they said they were either, because as
Right.
you know, there's a lot
Mhm.
of fake profiles out there.
Yeah, so that's usually the first thing I say. If it's in a Facebook group and it's from somebody anonymous, don't necessarily believe it. They're
Mm.
just trying to get some fear into people and to get people going. And if you actually have a question, ask it as yourself, and go from there. But
Yeah,
yeah, the internet, uh, like you switch from Dr. Google, I switch from Dr. Google to Dr. YouTube,
me too.
and uh, sometimes I am amazed that people trust me more than their doctor, and something's got to be wrong with that.
There is, and I will tell you, my doctor was really good at giving me the medicine, but he told me nothing.
Mhm,
Primary care. Um, don't think he now over the past year I had determined maybe he wasn't really so much for the medicine, although I think he's changed in the last month or two. Um, but he didn't tell me anything about eating, exercising, nothing. I did learn that on YouTube. I was very
mhm,
fortunate early on to find the downsize.
mhm,
So Lorraine and Christopher, and
mhm,
they were one of the few. Now there's some great ones like yourself and others who are not looking at the fear piece of it, but looking at the educational piece of it, and it's really helped. Um, I learned different things about eating, um, different things about hydrating, different things about the the fake things you heard about, or
mhm.
the things that could happen, but doesn't necessarily mean it will.
Absolutely. And, I don't want people to ignore any side effects because they could be something serious, but, most of them aren't. It's a very, very small percentage of ones that are. But, if you're having a side effect and you can't seem to get it under control pretty quickly, do reach out to your healthcare provider because, once in a while it is something serious. Like one of my people that I know that's a content creator in the UK who was also a paramedic recently got pancreatitis from the after over 2 years of being on the medication. So it can happen, and you don't want to ignore it. Speaking of
Absolutely.
which, did you have any side effects?
Yeah. So I did have some light nauseousness, not enough, like I wasn't getting sick, but
Hmm.
every time I titrated up, I would get that little bit of queasiness. Um, I think on 2.5 and 5, I had for a day or two a headache as I initially
Hmm.
got used to the medication. Um, some insomnia, not insomnia. I would fall asleep, but then not stay asleep. And then the one I continue to have is constipation. Um, for me, the Mago 7 has helped all along, but I'm currently on 12.5. And this one has been my roughest one when it comes to constipation. No other side effects, but this one, it's also worked the best for me. Well, maybe not the best, but I can feel it differently.
I, for the first time recently, had constipation because before that, I really didn't have any side effects. And it could have been me because I wasn't drinking enough. And I don't think I was getting enough fibers. And I found a product called Shameless Candies that one packet is 26 grams of fiber. I don't even eat a whole packet, and it's only 70 calories, but I eat a half a package if I think that I'm, not getting enough fiber and so forth. Take that for what it is. That's me. Again, I know sometimes I don't get enough fiber, and just,
Yeah, and I'm similar the same way. But a lot of those, I haven't tried that one, but I've tried the greenies, a few of the others, and I'm so sensitive in the stomach always. Not because of the GLP, but I've always been that way. So I try all these things, and then I'm like, why did I do that? Protein bars, can't eat. They hurt my stomach. Just very sensitive. Probiotics, I can't take. They hurt my stomach. So, it's been I've had a sensitive stomach all along. So it limits for me. And then I get a little gun shy to try new things.
So getting back to your original thing with your primary care physician, I think a lot of primary care physicians don't really know a lot about GLP-1 medications, just a little bit. And I'm thinking that this is starting to change since so many people are on it. At least I'm hoping. I was always hoping that on their own, that the general practitioners would like take a course on it. I'm sure there's plenty of them available and not too much time, and I'm sure they even have them online. But I learned most of what I know from a specialist in obesity medicine, and it wasn't even my doctor; it was my wife's doctor.
Yeah, so I went to the primary doctor. I think initially he wanted me to come every month. Then and basically he's just like, you want to move up? He wouldn't let me move up 2.5. He let me move up after the first month. But after that, it had to be 3 months no matter what. Because there was one I wanted to move up early. He's like, nope, it's not 3 months. And that he had to see me before. So the second one, when I went to 5.0, he made a comment that we're going to get you down to 160 and then you're coming off. Or a year, whichever came first. And I'm like, to myself, wait a minute. Everything I've learned, that's not for most people. So I didn't say anything that time. When I went the next time, he brought it up again. And I said to him, but the studies show, if you look at the Surmount studies, and I was prepared and I talked to him about it, he looked at me like I had two ears. I guess I do have 2 ears, 2 horns. And he's like, well, this isn't long term. So at that point, I'm like, this is not going to be my long-term doctor for this medicine. I liked him for other things. So that's when you mentioned an obesity doctor I started looking for. I wanted to get through August because my prior authorization was up. And I knew he was good at it because it got approved within an hour. So I wanted him to do the prior authorization. And then I was going to switch to an obesity doctor for this area. Plus, I had heard a lot of wonderful things about the care you get. So August came, he was still in that same mindset. I wasn't at either one, the 1 year or the 160 at that point. He put in the prior authorization. It got approved for a year. So I started looking for the obesity doctor, which I found. And I went to in October for the first time. And first of all, what a different experience you get. First thing they did was the in-body scan. No one had done that. I didn't know where my fat was or my muscle was or any of that. It was a lovely conversation I had with her. She was amazed at the knowledge I had, which is because of all of the content creators I've
Mhm.
followed over time. We had a lovely 1 hour conversation. We talked studies. As she called it, she got to geek out, which she doesn't usually get to do. But we also made a plan because I needed to reduce my fat, raise, increase my muscle. So we made a plan for that. And also um, she was all for long-term staying on it. She asked me a few questions, like about have I always had issues with my weight, questions like that. And she's like, talking to you, Michele, you should be on this. This is a long term. She made sure I was aware that it wasn't my fault. Um,
Mhm.
which, I'm very honest with her. I'm like, yeah, I know it, but it's still not wrapped around my brain yet, even though I truly know it's a disease. Um, but it's one of those, you also eat when you eat. Because I was one of those who, at times, I would eat way more than I needed to eat and would do so in private to, nobody knew, the
Mhm.
whole bit. So, but I've been going to her for
I don't know
3 months.
about you, but I did it in private and in public.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I might do it in private first and then in public on the same day.
So are you still in a losing mode, or have you gotten to maintenance yet, or
I'm still in the losing mode. Um, I have reached, originally when I did it, I said I wanted to do 150. Um, I went past 150. I switched it to 140. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, well, maybe 135. I'm at like 136, 137. Um, but by talking to the obesity doctor, she feels my weight itself is fine. She wants me more focused on my fat percentage, which
Mhm.
has been amazing. In the last 3 months, I've lost 10% in my fat percentage, and in my skeletal muscle went up almost 2 pounds in my skeletal muscle. So she was very impressed with that. But I still need to. She showed me on the InBody I need a D shape.
Mhm.
Right now I'm a C shape. So she wants me to work on that muscle a little more.
And do you have a workout, or do you just wing
So
it?
right now a little of both. So I started walking in October. So most of the weight, which was over 100 pounds of it, I lost without exercise, just because I didn't like exercising. I didn't have a doctor telling me I needed to exercise, and it was working, right? So I started to walk. Now, I was not looking forward to this walking because the last time I really tried to walk, I was 260 some odd pounds. So I started walking and I'm like, this isn't so bad, actually. And now I walk most days, not today, it's too cold. But I walk most days, and I usually do a minimum of 2 miles a day walking. So for strength training, I kept saying, I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start doing it, but I really wasn't doing it. So I decided I was going to hire a personal trainer. I prepaid 3 months because if I prepay, then I want my money's worth. And I started working once a week with the strength trainer. Um, and now because of that, I'm doing other things, still winging it on the off days, but I'm doing things like wall push-ups, squats, some planks, some with the resistant bands. So
Mhm.
I am starting to do more things, and I think that's why the muscle has responded. Um, so it's definitely been I think this journey starts with weight loss and really changes to a whole different mindset.
Hmm. Absolutely. Now, as far as the muscle loss, did you feel like you were losing muscle until you started this?
I don't even know if I lost muscle, Laurie, because I had no measurement. According to my original SMART scale, I gained muscle for whatever reason in June. I made a curve and it went down a little bit, but still much more than when I started. So I don't know if I've lost muscle or not lost muscle because I really had no way of measuring. I did not feel like I lost muscle. I felt more like certain areas, like my stomach, I wasn't losing the fat the way I wanted to, more than
Hmm.
that I lost muscle. For me, I feel the strongest I've felt, but some of that could be because of the weight.
Absolutely. So I'm assuming you've changed your diet along with this. What type of, lack of better terms, diet are you like? High protein, low carb, or are you just moderation?
So I don't, like you, use the word diet, but diet also encompasses anything you're eating.
Hmm.
Um, and I am really protein forward. So I make sure to have protein anytime I eat. I am not someone who has ever had 3 meals a day. Um, I am someone, I'll wake up a few hours later, have breakfast, then a few hours later, I'll have a lunch, and then I usually don't eat the rest of the day. This is not a GLP thing. This is just the way I've always been, or for many years. But I'm very protein forward, but I also do fruits and vegetables. Um, I think since going to the obesity doctor, she challenged me to add more protein to my diet. So my breakfast is very strange, but I make what I call a protein bowl. Um, so I will do, like, an example is I'll do a single serving of the cottage cheese, which I've always hated cottage cheese, but in the last 2 months, all of a sudden, I'm good with cottage cheese, so I'll take it. I'll do a solo of cottage cheese, put it in a bowl. I'll do a hard boiled egg and then one other protein. Sometimes, if I'm in a jam, I'll use the pouches of the premium chicken. Starkist has
Hmm.
premium pouches. Sometimes it's a leftover from the day before, the protein. If I make salmon, it could be salmon in there. And then I do different fruits, and I like to do a few different fruits. I usually do blueberries because that's the way I like my cottage cheese, is with blueberries. Um, I'm into the halo oranges. So, like, I did half an orange today. And the third one can be the strawberries, banana, half a banana, or whatever the seasonal. I'll try new
Hmm.
fruits. A lot of them I don't like, but I try them and then I decide. So that's like my breakfast. So I'm getting a good amount of protein in that. Then my lunch meal is usually like a dinner, right? It's a chicken, a salmon. Um, it could be a pork chop. Right now I'm doing a lot of different kinds of chicken. I don't cook. As far as I say, I don't cook. What that means is I don't use my oven, but I air fry a lot of things.
Hmm.
I make a chicken in the air fryer. I'll make chicken thighs in the air fryer. I make salmon in the air fryer. Vegetables in the air fryer. I try to do a vegetable with lunch. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends how hungry I really am at that point, because I've had a good breakfast. Sometimes for lunch, I'll just do the protein, and sometimes I'll do protein and vegetables. So it depends. I'm not afraid to go out to eat. So if we're doing something social, I will go out to eat. I just make smart choices when I go out to eat. Um, some weeks I go out 2, 3 times. The only thing that I keep in mind, because I do weigh daily, is going out to eat. You'll get a bump on the scale because of the sodium. At least I do. I can gain 2 pounds just from the sodium of eating out at a restaurant. And I know that doesn't bother me. I always like it when it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, I have that conversation with myself that tells me why it happened.
Are you still only eating 2 meals a day?
I do basically only eat 2 meals a day. Sometimes I'll have a snack in between. A lot of times my snacks are for whatever reason, because I saw them at Publix. Goldfish has been my recent snack, which is so weird because I never have eaten them, but they were a buy one, get one free. And don't ask me why. That was enough. I went hungry to the grocery store. So, and it was the big $10 container. So every so often I've done a serving of goldfish as a snack. I'll probably do it tonight. It's New Year's Eve, the night we're recording. So that might just be what I have.
Do you count calories or track calories at all?
So when I first started, I was tracking. So previously, I would do Weight Watchers before GLP, and that was such tracking, right? That it told myself, and just so you know, Lori, I'm one of these people that I have been successful on Weight Watchers, not successfully kept it off, but I've lost 100 pounds twice before. This is my third time losing 100 pounds. But for me, what I was doing was not sustainable. So I went into this saying, I'm going to start with tracking because I was focused on protein, which was a whole new game for me. I wanted to make sure I was eating enough calories, where when I was on Weight Watchers, you wanted to get as much as you can and get every point worth. This time I was worried I wasn't getting enough. So I was tracking. And probably it's been about 6 months ago, I made a conscious decision to stop tracking because I wanted this to be sustainable. And I still did well with it. I only went back a little bit to tracking when I went to the obesity doctor because she wanted me to increase my protein. And I needed to understand where I was at. So now I've sort of done a little bit in between. I'll take a picture of what I eat and I put it in ChatGPT and I let it take it and I ask it for my total proteins just for the day. And it tells me.
The reason I asked about tracking is because it almost sounds like you're not getting enough calories.
So yeah, so my calories are about 1,000, which is not necessarily the right amount. But according to the doctor, my blood work, everything, it's going good. So I pay attention to that. But I am probably on the lower end of calories. And probably this is the most calories I've had.
Now, I'm bringing up when you do finally get to maintenance, have you considered, or even before you're on maintenance, that if your healthcare changes, that they may not cover it? Does that bother you or worry you?
So it's interesting. I had that little fear this year because they changed companies. We're changing from UHC, United Health, to Aetna. Now, I'm one of the fortunate ones because I'm also Care, which we know what happened with Caremark, but they continue to cover us. So I was petrified because remember, I went to August. I got that prior authorization for a year, and now you're telling me we're changing insurance companies. So I was worried, silly. I'm HR, but I don't know what's happening with that. I'm on the operations side. So I talked to
Mhm.
my benefit person who I know the people because I'm HR. And they're like, well, we're not really saying too much. I'm like, well, just let me know so I know what I'm doing. And it ends up we're an open formulary company. So as long as you meet the prior authorizations needed, it will be covered. But I had that time in between, or let's face it, no job is guaranteed, right? So you could switch
Mhm.
companies. So I thought about that. I'm like, what would I do? Uh, I think through talking to different people, watching different content creators, I now feel like Compound could be an option for me, as
Mhm.
could Lily Direct. It really depends then the pricing,
Mhm.
right? At that point. Um, so I'm open to either one. What I do know is I will stay on. It
Absolutely.
has
I feel
done
the same
so
way.
much for me, not only, yeah, weight loss, inflammation, energy. Like my energy is tremendous. um, just the ability to move, clarity. There's just so many more things that, excuse me, this does. I also, prior to going on GLP, I have sleep apnea. So that gives me another back way potentially. When I started, it was not FDA approved for sleep apnea, but my actual sleep apnea doctor said, come, gosh, this was about 80 pounds in, 90 pounds in. He goes, we have a new drug called ZepBound that can be taken for sleep apnea. And he obviously wasn't looking at my medicines because I had been on it at that point a long time. And I said, I'm actually on it. He goes, oh, you are? And he takes his notes and he starts flipping. He goes, oh my, oh my, come with me. And he brought me to all the girls in the office saying, look, what's that done? Look, she's been on it. So I know that could be a backdoor too, if need be. So
Absolutely.
yes, I will stay on it no matter what.
Have you heard anything about the next generation of medications that are coming out, like the orforglipron or the oral Wegovy?
Yeah, I have. Um, and people often, try to stay up to date on the news with all that. And as far as going to a pill, I don't know. Um, the shots have been working. Um, the shots have been working, and you know, pills go through the liver. So I'm like, if it's working, I might just stick with what I am. Plus, I can see how others do on it, right? Um,
Mhm.
I'm not in any rush to switch over. I'm really excited for the Retta when that comes out, just because, I know a lot of people who have a lot of weight to lose, and I think it opens a whole new world for them.
Mhm. I'm just hoping that, and it looks like it is gonna be driving a price war, so to speak, and could possibly bring the prices down.
I
And
think it
and and let's
will
face
bring the
it.
prices down. I think
Mhm.
that's fantastic.
And let's face it, if you were an insurance company and an oral medication was coming in at 199, and that doesn't mean that's what the insurance companies are going to actually pay. I could see them steering their customers from the injection to that, or possibly even covering that as opposed to nothing, which for some people, something is better than nothing.
Absolutely. I really feel that if I was starting and it was the beginning, I probably would go toe in the pill, just because, you know, shots are, if you've never done it, it's a scary world. The pill works. I think it opens access to so many more people, one for pricing, and agree that it can start a pricing war for the benefit of the consumer. And then two, it just opens up a whole new world to people who just can't take a shot, afraid of the shot, you know, the whole, that whole spectrum. So I think it's awesome and wonderful. And I still think there's so much more we don't even know about that's upcoming.
Absolutely. Uh, so we've talked a little bit about the medications, but I want to kind of rewind a little bit. When you were first starting, did you have any problems other than the sleep apnea? Like, was your A1C elevated? Did you have high cholesterol? Anything along those lines?
I had high cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and that's totally normal now. My A1C, I was very fortunate. As my doctor says, I dodged a bullet because it had not gone up. Almost everyone in my family, I'm from a large family, I'm one of 8 kids, and almost all of them are pre-diabetic now. None of them are on the medicine. And there's no doubt in my mind that I would have been pre-diabetic if everybody else was. So I'm just very fortunate.
That's great. Again, I want to go back to when you were choosing between Wegovy and ZepBound. Obviously, research, but would you have tried the Wegovy? Had insurance plate said, "Oh, we'll cover the Wegovy, but not the ZepBound."
100%. I wasn't against Wegovy. I put the script in, but they had the delay, which gave me time to look at things. I knew someone who was taking the ZepBound, so she had had success. I didn't know anyone on the Wegovy. That helped switch it. If insurance said it would only be Wegovy, I 100% would have only taken, I would have gone for the Wegovy because I wouldn't have known anything differently.
And what is your opinion about celebrities and their influence on the GLP-1? Like, I know some of them are good and some of them not so good. For example, I think Serena Williams did a lot to help because nobody could say she doesn't work hard enough, uh, doesn't have means to the proper diet, and then some of the celebrities are just making jokes about it and so
Absolutely.
forth rather than taking it serious.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Serena did a lot coming out. There's that whole husband on the board, piece of it.
Hmm.
But I'm going to go back a little more. To me, one of the most influential people on it was Oprah. Um, and Oprah coming out and talking about just obesity because she was doing it before GLPs were really, really
Hmm.
in the spotlight in the same way. And she talked about the disease. And we all saw her struggle with diets over the
Hmm.
years. At least I did. Like I said, I'm 58, so you know, I was the generation with Oprah, and people made such body shaming of her. So I think celebrities have there's a responsibility that goes with it. If you're going to talk about any topic, there's a responsibility. And someone like Serena coming out, I think it's similar to Oprah just later and it from a different angle. And I think it
Hmm.
opened up the conversation again where people started talking about it. I don't really pay attention to the negative ones. Um, you know, they they're looking for their fame and any publicity is publicity to them. But for me, someone like Serena really restarted the conversation again. And each time we restart the conversation, we already have the foundation of what we've already talked about, and it
Hmm.
just adds to the conversation.
I want to go back a little bit also to the fact that this is the third time that you lost 100 pounds. Was that correct? Okay, so
This is
we
the most.
all
Yeah.
we all know how to lose the weight, and a lot of these diets are fine for losing the weight. Like you said, it's just not sustainable. Where the difference between that and then GLP-1 is we're taught, whether it's self-taught or through platforms like this and other people's, how to make smarter choices and have this as a lifestyle. Where the others were just diet, lose the weight, poof, you're done. You're on your own, and I'll tell you right now, GLP-1s, even their maintenance is a little bit tricky. It's because there's just not a lot about it, but it makes it doable. And I think that's the main difference.
I also think the main difference, Lori, is I can talk for myself, right? When I was on Weight
Hmm.
Watchers, it was about manipulating food. It wasn't about true change. I didn't know that then, but you get the hindsight.
Hmm.
I was manipulating food. How many 0 point items can I eat in a day because they're 0 points and still be under my point limit, right? It wasn't about how to eat a healthy amount, um, how to eat protein and fruits and vegetables. And to your point, some of that is self-taught. Some of that, I know there's a lot of people. I have been fortunate. First of all, I don't like fried food. So eating fried food was never something I had to worry about. But some people learn because they'll eat something and they don't feel so good. Salads, I can't eat salads. On GLP, for whatever reason, they hurt my stomach. Um, I can have a little bit, but not like a meal that has a lot of salad. So people, I think, truly learn different habits. I've been increasing even what I'm eating, like I said, my protein, all of that. Um, so I think I'm moving closer to that maintenance point, Lori, but I
Hmm.
won't know until I go through it, of course. And I say through it, but it's onward and forward, right? Because to your point, maintenance is an ongoing process.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like I've lost the weight very differently this time than previously. It's the food isn't the focus. When I was on Weight Watchers, it was all food focused, right? Now it's lifestyle focus, if that makes sense.
It does. Now, do you possibly think that the elimination of food noise plays a part in that? Because I didn't even know what food noise was till it was gone.
Me too. I didn't know I had food noise. I thought what I had was everybody had, right? Even listening to Oprah way back when, it didn't register to me. But when once you go, and it's really amazing because when I took the 2.5, I'm like, wow. But if you compare the 2.5 to the 12.5, it's totally different. So there's been different stages of reducing food noise. Um, so, like, I don't know, at one point, I'm like, how did I? It was like 2 o'clock. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't eat today. And, and to me, you would have never seen that before the GLP. I don't like that. Don't get me wrong, because I think it's
Hmm.
important to fuel your body. But food noise played an important part because my brain isn't only thinking about the food. Where on Weight Watchers, it was thinking about the food. How can I get all that food? Because the noise was still going on. So if I have this, it's zero, and this is zero, and this is zero, and this is zero. And I was still eating larger quantities. It obviously worked, but it wasn't sustainable. I
Hmm.
really do feel what I'm doing now, I can continue to do. And I am someone, like I said, I'll go out to eat. I'll eat some, I'll go out for dinner and I'll get, whatever comes. I sometimes will sub because I like veggies, but sometimes I'm like, oh, that looks good. I'm going to do that. My favorite type of food is Italian food. I don't have Italian food every week, but for me, that's a night, and I don't make that at home. That's I'm going out
Mhm.
somewhere type thing. Somebody else is going to do that nice long cooking on that, and I'll still do that. Um, and that's fine. Now, one of the things I'm still working on, Lori, even after a year, is
Mhm.
stopping when I'm full. Um, so, I still battle that. One, the Clean Plate Club, which I can't be part of because I just can't eat that much. But there's a point where I know I'm full, but I'm still eating. That I don't truly stop.
Absolutely. There's something that I learned from Noom that now, again, I don't take as big of a portion as I used to, but I'm also one of those that was raised, oh, eat every bite on your plate because there's starving kids in China, and well, there's starving kids in America, so
Yeah.
that's out the window. But anyhow, what Noom uh, teaches you, and I learned this from somebody else because I didn't actually do Noom, is that you literally have to leave one bite of everything just so that your mind could get into the idea that you don't have to clean your plate. And it was hard, but I try to leave one bite, and it's slowly starting to sink in.
Yeah, I probably leave one bite, especially when I go out. I'm really good at home of taking a smaller amount, so that's not an issue
Hmm.
because I'm making my plate. But when I go out, I usually do leave because I can't finish it because portions
Right.
in restaurants are just huge now. I
They
can't
are.
believe I'm saying that, but they're huge now. But there's a point where I've eaten and I'm full. And I said to myself in my head, I'm full. But there's still
One
half
more
a thing.
bite.
One more bite, maybe just one more. And I need to do better at listening to that voice in my head. Even though it's much less than I used to eat, I still don't need to eat more than I need to, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does. And it's funny because when I go out, like my frame of mind now, because they are huge portions, is I try to stop when there's enough for another meal to take home. Now, I'm terrible with leftovers. Chances are it's going to rot in my refrigerator, and I'm basically refrigerating garbage. But
Yeah,
it helps when I go out to,
yeah,
like I have to leave at least enough for another meal.
that's good. And I usually will bring home too. Um, so that's a good strategy.
Well, I'm gonna start to wrap this up. Just a couple quick last questions. Did you tell people you were on a GLP-1 when you started, or did you like wait a while to see how it was working? Or
I told before, I think before I got it, I told my aunt I was thinking about it. Now, her daughter was on one, so it was a safe area, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then I told family as it came up naturally. I told some people at work. I told some friends. And the surprising thing is, as I told people at work, I got me too. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
really? Which they weren't so verbal about it. And there's tend to be a group of us. And even since then, because I'm always, I'll always talk about it. People notice when you lose 100 and, 20
Mhm.
some odd pounds. And I'll tell them, and then somebody will come up to me and say, guess what, Michelle? I just started. And then they become part of that support area that we talk. So on Christmas, I got texts on how people did on, you know, with their weekend, their holiday. So yes, I will tell people if they ask me, if it comes up in conversation. Um, I'm not shy about it. And I think part of it for me is someone told me, if you remember to my 3 reasons I
Mhm.
started, the first one that opened up the door was someone being open and telling me that they
Absolutely.
use.
Uh,
it.
You mentioned at work, and again, that really surprised me because I work in an outpatient radiology facility, and I actually started on compound because one of the guys that I work with was on it, and he was on it from his part-time job, which is race car driving. Um, Again, this was compounded because I didn't even know about it.
Right.
I probably would have only been able to stay on it a month or two had I had to pay the $1,200 every month. But, you know, talking about it, like you said, finding out so many people were on it, and we probably have like 25 techs because there's, I think, 7 different facilities that we cover, and probably like 7, 8 of us were on it that I know of. And it was funny because as I started my channel, like I got emails from people in the company because it's a national chain, asking me for advice. And I'm like, who are you? But, they were obviously working at the same radiology company. You could tell from the email. So it was like really surprised me how many people were actually on the medication.
Same. Same. I had no clue. And I'm like, yeah, they did lose a lot of weight. And I'm not someone now that I'm on it, I'm like, oh, I wonder. But prior, I didn't think about how did they lose the weight. It just, you know, I just didn't. And then when they said it, I'm like, oh. And for me, the fact that they said it, it was the beginning of my journey. So it was inspiring, right? Others, and
Hmm.
they were very quick to share, they really haven't had many issues, or what issues they did have that were minor. So it was definitely support, and it's amazing. And it's just grown in the year. It's huge. And I know for like our insurance, it's one of our largest things that they spend money on, medications.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's funny how we look at it so much differently now. It's like I'll be watching television, and somebody wouldn't have been on a show for, let's say, 3 or 4 months, and I know their schedules are different. We don't see them, until months later, and you're like, oh, that person lost like 60 pounds in the time since I've seen them. I wonder which GLP-1 medication they're taking.
Exactly. It's so true. And good for them, right? Um,
Absolutely.
I think it's a wonderful tool in the toolbox. It's definitely doesn't do the work all by itself. I can tell you what I did a year and a half ago versus what I'm doing now is totally different. Um, Now, I think without the tool, it would make it impossible for me to do those changes, but it's only a tool. I know many people who started it and stopped it, and they
Hmm.
stop it because they there's many different reasons they stop it, right? But some of the reason is you do have to do the work. And if
Hmm.
not, you're going
Absolutely.
to get the frustration or the stop. I am someone, I take my shot no matter what.
Hmm.
Um, Holidays, doesn't matter. Only thing I have done is if I'm going away for a long weekend, Friday to um, Sunday or Thursday to Monday, I may take it one day early.
Hmm.
But I've traveled to Italy with it. I've traveled um, to on cruises with it, done theme parks with it. So they travel well too. At least the pens do.
Absolutely. And it's so true about it being a tool because my brothers are now on GLP-1 medication, and they're twins, so you would think that their makeup is somewhat the same. And they both had maybe 15, 20 pounds to lose, and they decided, they're not doing it by themselves, so they're going to go on a GLP-1 medication. And when I talked to one of them last week over the holidays, I'm like, so, how's it going? And one of them's like, oh, it's great. I've lost 18 pounds. And the other one, when I talked to him, he's like, this really isn't working, but I skipped it this week because it's Christmas, and, last week I only took half of it because, there's so many parties I want to go to. So, one's trying and one is expecting it to melt off.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. So when I used to, somebody say, hey, you want to go out to eat? Or there's a party or something, first thing I do is look at the menu. What am I going to eat?
Mhm.
Or, ooh, what are you guys serving at the party? Not because I'm on GLP, because I wanted to know what food I was going to get to eat. Now it doesn't even cross my mind. Sometimes right before I'm leaving, I may look, what am I in the mood for? But it's not the most important thing. It truly isn't. I'm not worried if I go someplace, there won't be anything I want. If there's truly nothing I want, I'll eat later. And I don't know that I had that, I'm going to call it strength to say that before.
I know as far as me, like the other week, I was supposed to go out with a friend, and we were going to go to, I think it was Cheesecake Factory, which is fine because they've got, there's salmon and low calorie, little special part of the menu, which I could order plenty of things off of, or just order just a piece of salmon and a salad, whatever. And they're like, "Oh, we don't really have time. Can we switch it to the bagel joint?" And I'm like, "Bagel joint? What am I going to eat at a bagel joint?" So I'm like, well, maybe we should just reschedule this to next weekend. So, there is a little bit of thought on my part as to where we're going, because, there are certain places that absolutely, there's not much you could have.
You're South Florida. Tampa don't really have bagel joints, so I'm good. Yeah, for me, it's if a place has chicken, fish, pork chops. It's for me what I tell people when they're like, well, let's pick a restaurant. I'm like, okay, I don't do fried.
Hmm.
Because that's probably my real limitation. Because you can convince me to have Italian very easily. It's not the
Hmm.
place I choose often because of it's just a lot of pasta. You can have other things, but
Right.
the one thing I don't want to do is feel like I'm restricting myself. And if I went to an Italian
Absolutely.
place and didn't have pasta, that wouldn't really work for me mentally. Um, but otherwise, yeah, I don't worry about it. I'm pretty good. And if it's truly a place that I think I won't really enjoy anything there, I'll eat beforehand
Hmm.
and then get
Yeah.
some.
Even the restaurants are changing. I mean, look at Starbucks now has uh, protein coffees and a higher protein menu, and overpriced, but still options. And I'm hearing Chipotle has protein bowls now,
I
and
saw that when the
more.
chicken bowl too.
Uh-huh.
Just chicken, but so you mentioned Starbucks and coffee. I used to love coffee. It's one of the things I lost my taste for on GLP.
Mm.
Uh, I was what you would call a coffee snob. I had my lattes and my coffees, and at work they have a free latte machine and all that. And I switched up to the GLP one, and I found myself making my morning coffee, taking a sip, and just leaving it. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I'm not going to keep making coffee and not drink it. So
Mm.
I stopped making the coffee. I think I missed something hot, and I went to herbal teas in the morning because I needed something hot. And that's what I
Mhm.
still take to this day, herbal tea. And then the other thing was alcohol. I would enjoy a glass of wine with my late lunch dinner,
Mhm.
or after work, a glass usually a day. I have no desire for alcohol. When I went to Italy, I had a glass. I'm not afraid of alcohol. I had a glass because it's how I always envisioned Italy, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to be there, have some pasta, a glass of wine. I got the glass of wine. I had some. It was okay. But I probably in the year that I've been on had 2 glasses of wine, and no other wine was my alcohol of choice.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting how things just change too.
And it's also interesting how they're doing studies now on GLP-1s for alcohol abuse
Drug
and
abuse.
for fatty livers, cardio. They're saying that you have less, like a 10% less chance of even getting Alzheimer's. These studies aren't final, but it's looking towards that way. So the GLP, my cardiologist, who is not overweight, is taking Ozempic strictly for the cardiovascular benefits. So
Yeah.
it's changing.
You mentioned something, Laurie, about primaries and hoping they get educated. And I had
Hmm.
told you about my primary and how he had said what he said. And because I'm changing insurance, I'm waiting to make sure both doctors are still covered. The obesity doctor who I want to continue with. So I went to my primary for my checkup because he sees me every 3 months. And I'm like, oh, it'll be interesting because I'm under I was at that point like under 150. He had told me 160
Hmm.
or a year. We're in November, so it's close to the year. And I go in and I'm waiting for him, and he comes in. He goes, "Hey, Skinny." I'm like, who is this doctor? He's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Good." He's like, "So, what have you been eating?" I'm like, okay, that's the first time he's ever asked me that.
Hmm.
So I talked to him about that. He goes, "You're like an ideal candidate. You're doing everything just as you need to." I'm like, okay. And I'm waiting for him to say something about discontinuing. He goes, "Are you good on the 10 or do you want to move up to the 12?" I'm like, it's time to move up to the 12. He's like, okay. And I'm like, so the only thing I could think of, Laurie, is he got education in between.
Hmm.
He did one of his continuing educations on that topic because he was like a different doctor. Um, and so, to your point that you started with, is hopefully more doctors are getting that too.
Absolutely. And I think the fact that patients are advocating for themselves is helping them reach that decision or educating them themselves.
Yep, exactly. And he knew I told him I went to the obesity because it's in the same, whatever you call it,
Hmm.
umbrella company.
Right.
And he's like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I did see that. So um, he didn't ask more questions on it. And like I said, I'm going
That's
to
great.
continue with the obesity doctor only because I just feel like I just saw her this week and she had a dietitian sit in who must be joining the company because she's like, I'm going to start taking full-time patients in January. And she goes, love to do a consult with you. And I said, I would love to if insurance is going to cover it.
Hmm.
And the obesity doctor says, well, we can be creative. If not, I'll join her for the meeting and we'll bill it under me.
Hmm.
Wonderful. I'm in. I never say no to, guidance.
Absolutely. And everybody's jumping on the GLP-1 wagon, the grocery stores, the fast food chain,
Yes,
even the doctors themselves have to, because this looks like it's the wave of the future, and with 70% of Americans either being overweight or obese, they kind of have to.
they do. And it's the wave of the future. If they want to be the person who can have the patients, they need to be able to relate to them. And I think some of them still have
Hmm.
a lot of work to do, Laurie.
Absolutely. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up the way I usually do. What advice do you have for somebody thinking about doing a GLP-1 medication?
First thing I would say is take it, go for it, do it.
Like
I think
Christopher says, take the damn shot.
take the shot, exactly. Take that shot because everybody's nervous and afraid. So take it. Two, I really lean on the protein. Protein is good. Water, hydration is important. Um, and pay attention to how you feel. If you feel like you're feeling weak, figure out why, right? If you're um, if you're feeling more energized, embrace it. Like for me, I felt great. I walked some more. So those are things. I would also say, um, for me, telling people help. It provides support. I know you can have naysayers, but honestly,
Hmm.
maybe it's the people I know or the people I'm with. For the most part, most of them were positive. Are there some you can tell what they really
Hmm.
think? Absolutely, I can ignore them when it comes to that. But the support that you get is, for me, has been the thing that has allowed me to be successful. Also, once you get to that phase, provide support to someone else because it's
Hmm.
really a full circle. It's one of the reasons why when you mentioned about doing the interview, I'm like, I'm in. It's because somebody may see it and it can make a difference.
Hmm. And that's why I do these. If it helps
Right.
one person, I'm happy.
Agree.
And with that, I'm going to wrap this up and call this a wrap.
Thanks, Laura.